So next is something you should be doing if you're not already. And this is one of my favorite segments because it is, like I said before, we're focused on actionable. If all the things we talk about are esoteric and in theory, things we've read about, but things we don't actually do. Yeah, highfalutin strategies. That's not helpful to you.
And usually don't make any difference
Yeah,
at all.
they don't really help anyway. And so we always come with at least one thing that if you are doing this, treat this as a 5-minute pat on the back for the effort it takes or took to do that.
Absolutely.
And if you're not doing it, as soon as the episode's over, because go ahead and finish listening.
Please, because the analytics are watching.
It's a big deal. The algorithm and the Google's watching. Just put that in place. And these aren't things that are too difficult. These aren't months in advance. So we're not going to sell this. This isn't brought to you by Razor's Edge or other database companies that you should install.
We got to look for sponsorship.
But it could be. Let's just be clear. It's not only because I checked podcast at oneicity.com before we went live, and there wasn't an email from anybody saying we ought to do that.
Here's your $100,000 for your first year. I'd get you
or less than that. Send us your best offer, and we'll take it from there. Yeah.
Podcast at oneicity.com. I'll go ahead.
Make that clear.
Well, you don't want to get...
No, you don't. I don't want to get the other guy. I don't want the other guys to get our possible check. So the thing I'm going to say you should be doing if you're not already, a few episodes ago, I talked about giving to other organizations.
Yeah.
And it's a great strategy. You learn a lot from them, how they do things. I should have said it then, but I'm glad I didn't because now I get to use it for this episode. You should give to yourself and subscribe to yourself, because when you're seeing things in review or even as part of a seed list, it looks different.
So first, to say what a seed list is, because not everybody knows that.
That's a good call. Seed list is essentially you are on your organization's either direct mail or email mailing list, and you get the emails as just part of being slotted in. In direct mail, sometimes that can come at a different time.
Yeah.
And so the way or the reason I prefer to give a gift and organically hop on, and then I also like to use a separate email for my work email.
Yeah, so you hide, don't you?
Yeah, I really like to pretend to be a donor so I can be treated just that way and see how a donor experienced it, because there have been times where I've gotten an email and I loved the email. The subject line was on point. Pre-header was engaging. The email was great. But when I got it, for whatever reason, when I got it, I thought, I wonder if this was the best time to have received the email. And so you see that, and then you look at it differently when it's your inbox and when you're actually going through the email. Same with mail. When it comes to your mailbox, did it actually stand out in your stack of mail?
Mm-hmm.
Do you validate and thank your donors?
Yeah. Did you get a receipt that you noticed?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or is the team following the process? Because you may have heard us talk about you need to validate and you need to thank, you need to do it in kind of this way. And you may have said, hey, are we doing that? Yep. We're doing that. Here's the plan. Here's how we do it.
Following those business rules.
But if in practice, it's the difference between reality and the lab. In the lab, you probably got an awesome process, but if it's not pressure tested, if it's not working in the real world like you want it to be, you need to know. So give your organization $25, hop on the lists, and make sure
use your offshore bank account so they can't spot you.
Yeah, the same account you send us sponsorship deals. Use that to give to your organization as well. So what do you have?
So if you take donations online, you are paying a credit card fee.
Yep.
Okay. Because you just
that's same as is in any other small business. So you may have gone to a really small restaurant or a donut shop and they have a credit card minimum that you have to spend.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
The reason for that is they're paying 3.5%, 4.5% on your card swipe or insert or Apple Pay just to take your money. And so if you're making them pay 4.5% off of 90 cents, they didn't quite lose money, but it ate into their little profit
A lot
margin.
of times they'll have a minimum.
Oh yeah, minimum with the processor.
So it's like, it's a $2 cup of coffee and a $3 minimum fee. So lovely, I lost $1
Yeah,
on you.
thanks
You're
a
great.
lot.
Thank you. So what you should do is consider changing the way your online giving platform, and I'm rapidly going to get out of the technical part so you can help me with this, it is the give your donor the option, and I need you to hear very clearly how I want you to frame this, the option to then, after they've decided, so I'm going to give $100. You've got to call it a 3% for easy rounding. So you're going to pay $3 on that $100. The organization,
which means I'm actually going to get $97.
Exactly. And I've got a story for another time about an organization that in that situation actually receipted us at $97, which is such a bad thing. But I'm not going to go there this time. We'll save that little rant for later. But what you can do is give your donor the option to pay the credit card fee after they've made the decision to give.
You want more money?
I do.
You want to ask them for more money?
And what
again, a second time?
Is in that moment when I'm giving $100, then you say to them in the drop down or the pop up or however you do it technically, it's most of the credit card. Most of the giving platform people have an option for you to do this, and if not, you need to talk to Ryan to figure that out. But it is would you like to then pay the 3% of the credit card fee for this donation?
Yeah.
It is amazing how many people will say, oh, well, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. No. But I want to do that. And so you're talking about with no extra work and no extra fundraising, adding, call it 3% to call it
your bottom line.
My guess is you're going to have half the people who give online agree to that.
Mm-hmm. It's about what we've seen when we've moved to that, and what we haven't seen, because we also are big on your mileage may vary. So it may your percentage of converting that extra gift may vary, may not be 50%. But what we haven't seen is organizations getting complaints
or abandonment at that point in the process.
Yeah, the overall conversion rate has stayed the same, or statistically the same, but nobody's getting calls, nobody's getting bugged.
Yeah. So it's not like you can go in and ask people to pay for the return envelope stamp, but it is the same idea as many times in direct mail. Either we will not have a paid postage on a return envelope, or we'll say, hey, if you put a stamp over this, it saves us the price of the postage. It's the same effect. Donors, if they love you, they don't want to cost anything extra. And after they've made that decision, it's not a bad thing to ask them to do just a little bit to make that happen. It's a piece of cake.
And on most platforms, you can customize how you word it, because that's where it's most powerful, is when you can put your wording around that. But even when it's a system where it's just, hey, would you like to cover the 3.5% processing fee? That still works. But if you've got the option to say, hey, you can help us save even more kids off the street by covering this cost. Yeah, sloths. That's even better. That's the better way to go. But regardless, see about giving your donors the opportunity. That's a good idea.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Not Your Father's Fundraising Podcast.